April 22nd, 2020, my cool friend Karen posted an Instagram story saying she's tired of all the crazy live streams. April 22nd, 2020, my screen is nothing different. I am seeing more and more streamings, more and more stories, and you are too. Let's take a look at our journey on Instagram. The format started from the graded pictures. Then there was carousel, an archive of several pictures within one grid. Then one day instant stories appeared, and more stories. Then there are options for live streamings. Hungry for constant updates, social media has rendered our lives virtual and transparent. The here and now is not about time and space in real life anymore. This is the new normal. The content of this virtualization is silently changing too. We used to simply take selfies. Then we got used to filters. We filter even more. In 2019, the selfie filters started to unlock more angles of our face, making us gaze ourselves multidimensionally.
Virtual.
Reflections.
Virtual.
And deconstruction.
Virtual.
From selfie to selfie, our online persona keeps upgrading. Artists are collaboratively playing with this, expressing narcissism through collages and commodity, deconstructing skin and body parts, seeking extension of human bodies, reflecting, measuring, and redefining our own selves. This virtual quality starts to appear in commercial brands. Seems like there are no differences between one persona and the next. Everyone is homogeneous. The self doesn't matter. Everyone can press pause play. We shine as distinct individuals, but individuality doesn't matter. These virtual spaces where hundreds of millions of people learn to see and feel and want the same things, we're marching toward a generic sameness, creating a look of ruthless exoticism, a collective expression across age, gender, and race. This sameness is also behavioral. Through social media, we virtually collect our lives, narrating more and more stories. We record more and more vlogs and TikTok videos. We lay our belongings on a table, on our bed, and take pictures. We call them flat lays. Seems like we are craving to show our whole self to others, more and more, again and again, so that we maintain the feeling of being watched, so that we exist and existed. Validation. This virtual sameness is revealing something urgent and ethereal, something universal but different, something different but universal. We all try to shout out to this big empty world, checking dimensions and gravity, making sure that we get echoes, again and again, to make sure that we exist and are alive. It's our constant validation of existence. We validate our existence by following others. We project our feelings by matching others' feelings. During quarantine, the game Animal Crossing has become so popular because it allows people to still live an outdoor life virtually. When friends are playing it, we also want to play because we're needing ways to say, me too. We need to validate our existence by saying me too, so that we are not alone. After all, it's easy to get lost. Staying home gives us a lot of time to spend with ourselves. It makes us realize how alone we are in the world. We can't go anywhere. There's no one else. Like this filter designed by David O'Reilly, it's always you. All the reflections we see is only ourselves. We are submerged in this extreme loneliness. Mark, my mentor, recently spotted this scene in New York City, a manifesto of I am a loner. This made me think that after we realized the fact that we cannot get over loneliness and isolation, we try to get along with it. We get along with this need to validate that there is more than just ourselves. We tag each other, like a virtual knock-knock. Names are just like our relationships with others. When we tag someone, we are actually validating this relationship in order to feel secure with it, again and again. We continuously validate relationships by interacting. This is a game that recently became a hit among Instagram stories. We play it by doodling or writing something, then tag more people to let them continue. This one, from my friend Mai, especially stands out by signaling that we need to count and shout out to these relationships in order to validate others are still there. Yet, we have no physical touch in this modern society. It's always you. There is a lack of interaction. That's when we started this journey of relationship with self. First, driven by the intrinsic limitation, Frida Kahlo painted a ton of self-portraits due to the fact that she couldn't go anywhere because of her physical disease, and thus had so much time to look at herself. Then, almost 100 years later, driven by the extrinsic limitation under the threat of a contagious disease in 2020, all the photography major students from my school received the same assignment, self-portrait. Similar to Frida, they cannot go anywhere and have no one else to shoot, so they have to be their own subjects. The self-gazing even became super surreal. We have started a new way of performing for self. In the mural selfies, which we marked as something like outfit of the day, we used to perform in front of the mirror with an audience in mind. Then recently, I found an interesting post from the Instagram page of this fashion brand Vercura, showing an intimate but bold scene of a person taking mirror selfies at home. Beneath the radical mix of clothing styles is our performance of loneliness. We validate our existence in this surreal way to directly face isolation. It's an upgraded angle of self-performance. It seems like the weird time of this pandemic in 2020 pushes us to virtually validate. But actually, this upgraded validation would continue with or without COVID quarantine. Some brands have been following the tendency before the pandemic. We used to see masturbation as a validation of our basic human instincts. Now there's a shift. Masturbation is redefined as self-love, rebranded with an emphasis on self-empowerment, accepting a world full of isolation but without virtual limitation. Some people find it feels strange to adapt this virtual empowerment in the context of our real world. Like this girl said, the podcast in our ears feels like a secret amongst the surroundings. Does this new concept really work? I can't tell right now, but it's a sign already. The rise of podcasts these days is a sign of people validating our loneliness. My friend Timothy reminded me that we are embracing virtual companions by doing so. The lack of human crush keeps pushing and enlarging our individuality. It feels lonely, it feels weird, but it feels like rebirth. Then we find our way out through new ways of virtual performance. We accept this digital prosthesis, we explore open frameworks through a celebration of collaborative narcissism, deconstruction, and endless reflection. Wow. It seems like the virtual world is giving us radical liberation of creating personas. It is providing a wider variety of our form of existence, but we are still marching toward a generic sameness. I wonder, how might brands avoid homogeneity while adapting people's tendency to virtually validating their existence?